And it's fun to have a new person in our group. I'm going, that was a nice surprise.
The magic bell. Bing. And welcome, my friends, to Wednesday night live stream. And here we are, all alive. That's why they call it live stream. Isn't that great? Live. If some of us weren't here, we'd call it spirit stream, but it's live stream right now. Charles, I really like your comment, just dancing with the stars. You're definitely dancing with a lot of stars here. This divine group that has shown up to dance the light fantastic tonight. And we're dancing, of course, the magic and the mystery of the star tetrahedron, the image of perfect balance where the divine masculine of power rests on and within the divine feminine of love. And it creates then an energetic light wave form around through an individual called the star tetrahedron. The real mystery is, though, that as it turns, it opens in a vortex within the very middle, and that's within the area of the heart chakra, and it opens into the void. And from out of it, then, life, spirit, literally streaming forth into this dimension. Tonight, the theme of the chit chat is about love. I was recently doing a session for a student. This was about, I think, the 5th session that we had done together. The first one, it was inviting her to see and feel that she was born as the divine feminine, and at the same time, she was then denied that as a little girl. The father was more into really education and into more what one should be doing within the world. So it was the denial of her feminine. And so it created a dark shadow over the left side or the feminine side, which is lack of love. She really didn't love her feminine. And so she moved her energy over to the right side, the masculine, and began to explore power. And power then for her was the mind and education. And so she received her doctorate in psychology and began to really open up then into spirituality with the mind reading, knowing, understanding, becoming quite illuminated in the realms of spirit, but there was still not the sense of loving the feminine. And so I explained to her that her mission now was to be able to use her masculine to simply hear now the feminine, to listen to the heart, to listen to this magical child within that didn't really feel loved. And because it didn't feel loved, it then caused emotion of always looking outside of herself, not feeling good enough, which is the great lie that we're all told on this planet. We already are good enough because the soul is perfection. It's simply seeking to mirror itself within this world of form by finding out how we don't love ourselves and then putting us through situations and circumstances that cause pain and suffering so that we can then look beneath it and find what wasn't loved that caused us to look outside of ourselves. And then by loving self, the emotion disappears. And so in the next session, I realized, in fact, she had begun to really embody that and accomplish that, so to speak. Then the next session was then about her learning to really begin to blend the two together and really honor her feminine and listen to it in her work, which was about spirituality and sharing some of her tools and some of her gifts with her clients. And most of her clients at that time were women. And so she was teaching them about now the feminine and how to love the feminine and embrace the feminine. But in fact, she now wasn't really loving her masculine. She was using the masculine to see and to understanding of the feminine. and to begin to honor the feminine of within herself. But then the masculine was now, it was simply put on the back burner. And so she was teaching then all of the women students that she was with about the feminine, which was beautiful. I told her it was part of what she was now learning within herself, how to really feel, understand, love the feminine so profoundly. But in the next session, I told her, now you must learn how to embrace the masculine and find what is the true masculine. The false masculine is action and doing, controlling, trying to make, all part of the process of learning about the false masculine to embrace the true masculine, which is simply the focusing of attention and light. And as attention and light is then focused upon the divine feminine, you are now so loving what the true masculine is, which is light and attention, that you're holding it in sacredness. And so then the right side of the aura is then love. The left side of the aura is now being honored by the masculine. And so then it creates another level, you see, of self-love. And so this last session that we did, she called me up and sent me an email and said that she was going through the dark night of the soul and everything felt really off, that everything had kind of crumbled. And when I looked at her energy field before she called, I could see that her aura was mostly white. Now, when we have white simply from the diaphragm up, it's more that we're simply using the mind to know spirit. We really haven't brought it into the golden frequency and learned to love the self. We're using the mind to know, but it's really when we love the self that we then become harmonized and balanced within the masculine, the feminine. And so her aura being quite white, it then was something that was quite confusing to her because everything kind of had stopped in her life. And I said to her in this session, I said, well, you've reached a very exciting point in your evolution, that you're going through literally the death of the ego. And it's not really so much a death of the ego as it is more, it's absorbed into the knowing of the soul, that the soul now can appropriate both the masculine and the divine feminine in an equal balance, and then create a whole nother level of expression. And so it then is quite an amazing time when one goes through that. I told her that I had been through it a couple of times, so I knew exactly what that was. In fact, one time I went to Hawaii because I felt so broken. The exact same thing, felt like it was the dark night of the soul. And as I was flying back from Hawaii, the fellow sitting in the seat next to me, he said, well, what do you do? And I felt so discombobulated and broken that I kind of fumbled around and kind of stuttered. And I said, well, I think I'm a teacher. Because I really hadn't brought back in the new level of expression from after the death, the rebirth. And so I told her that this beautiful white light that is now around within your aura is like when you go to the movie. They turn the very bright projector on, but if there's no film, then there's nothing really happening. The screen is perfectly white and it's there and open and available to expression, but there's no thing. And so I told her, now the expression that you're going to be bringing forth upon the screen is simply the deepest level of imagination, from summoning from out of the void. What is your deepest imagination and feeling of joy and happiness that you can bring forth? And so I said, it's no longer so much about what you have done before. You can still do the same things, working with sound, working with healing modalities, working with all these amazing tools. And I said, those tools will now keep everyone that you're working with focused, because what you really have come to the place now is such a profound feeling of self-love that it's the love that's now be going to emanate from in this open doorway within the heart from out of you into those who are working with. And it's that vibration, which is source oneness. It's the very creational tone of the universe, which is universal love, the highest love you can imagine, because it's the very source energy that created the universe. And I said, as it's now flowing from you, it's going to literally begin to flow into your people, and it's going to weave beneath all of their illusions of separation, and it's going to resonate once again within them that very core energy that all of us are made of, which is source. And as that is then resonated within them, it's then a self-acknowledgement. Something is whole and complete already within me. And so that then becomes the awakening from inside out. And so that's the true healing. And it's that then feeling of love within, that there's something good and true and beautiful within me that allows a person to begin to then step upon the pathway of, now I feel good enough about learning to find out who I am. And so I then mentioned to her that that is your key word now, that you are now moving into the I am. And the I am is when you're emanating that source energy, you're identifying the I am in everyone and everything around you, be it person, be it animal, be it tree, be it stone, be it whatever you are literally interfacing with. The I am of love coming from you is literally seeping in and through it, and acknowledge its righteousness, its goodness. And so that's what the indigenous people were able to do. They literally walked in union with Mother Nature. The trees were the standing people. The stones were the pebbles that literally gave them life, that they could then put fire to it and cook their food. They used that fire to heat up the stones to create their sweat lodges, to create the energy of spirit and transformation. And so it was a profound feeling of love with Mother Nature, but it was still looking outside of oneself for that. Whereas now, you see, when we now move to this place of perfect balance and we realize the I am is within me, and the I am is that which I am embracing, the stone. The I am is the tree. The I am is the animal. The I am is that person that I'm touching. And so every moment we're emanating this love frequency that is the ultimate healing force within the universe. Now, my good friend and your good friend, Lisa McKenzie, she sent me a very interesting video that talks about how they are really understanding that the sixth mass extinction is here. And we've talked about that together, and we know that there's a lot of chaos and a lot of travail happening on the world. But we also know that when we come to this frequency of love, that if we individually are literally not trying to change the world so much, we don't sit around and do nothing, mind you. We're active, we're sharing, but at the same time, we know that the energy that's really coming from us is the frequency of this golden love Christed wave. It's seeping through all things that are in separation. And just as I said to this woman, my client, is literally going inside everything that looks separate. And it's vibrating the resonance of that which lives within everything in creation, be it the politician, be it the financial world, be it the social injustice. Doesn't matter what it is. If we are truly emanating that frequency of Christed, literally golden liquid light from us, the sunlight of love, it's going to be resonating the truth within all creation. And then of its own accord, it's going to be changing automatically. And by doing that, it's then creating a network, literally a web of energy from me to you to this person over here, that we are each now vibrating this love frequency, the very core creation of the universe. And now as it creates this web around the earth, It's literally then vibrating all creation simultaneously with this impulse of grace, of harmony. And with that impulse of grace and harmony, we'll watch Mother Nature now arise with grace and harmony. We'll watch that social injustice will fall away. We'll watch the things that are the financial will then come into balance with all peoples. We'll watch food and hunger and all things that are out of balance. They'll come into balance because we have found what everything exists of, and that's source, which is love. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to be happening necessarily tomorrow, but we are the wave of the future. We are the individuals that are here bringing the star tetrahedron, the perfect balance of the divine masculine of focusing of attention, light, and the divine feminine of profound love and imagination. And we are now beginning to weave that energy together within each of us individually. And as we're now doing that, we're now beginning to vibrate from the open doorway within the heart, the love frequency that's stimulating this person over here to want to know, well, why am I feeling this profound love from you? What are you doing? How can I understand who and what you are? They'll be coming to us. And so that's what I literally told this woman. I said, you're not looking for clients anymore. You're simply seeing them being drawn to you like a magnet. It simply draws to it iron filings because it is so potent and so powerful in the love and the light that it is. It literally draws to it that which then wants to resonate with the magnetic frequency that it is. And so that's why the individual Jesus, who was able to master the Christ condition, the star tetrahedron, he began to gather so many followers to him. Didn't use the internet, didn't have a web page, didn't do much Facebooking, I'm sure. And so in all of that, you see, it was simply a drawing from this magnetic frequency of such literally oneness of love of source that all these people and all this great healing work was simply drawn to him and is still a force vibrating, today of that same frequency where we honor the Christ, the Buddha nature, all of those individuals that hold that frequency of the divine within them. It's the same frequency, the same energy. Krishna in India, Buddha, so many divine people down through history. That Christ energy vibrating from them, we revere them. We hold them in sacredness. Martin Luther King was that energy of love. So all these amazing people that hold the frequency of love within their heart to make such profound changes. Love is the key to both healing of oneself and to healing of the world by not needing it to change or wanting it to change, but simply loving it so profoundly because we are love that it vibrates the wisdom truth that already is in creation. It simply flowers forth. Just like the sun shining on a flower, it just blossoms beautifully. So that's the teaching for today, the profoundness of love. And again, it's one of the most amazing things that we can bring into our lives. And the star tetrahedron work is a very profound way to practice that. As we well know, the reason is because not only does the balance within the divine masculine and the divine feminine create this harmonic wave within us, but literally it opens up this sacred door within the heart. And then from out of it, there is this river of life that flows. The divine source of love flows from us. It's no longer the personality. It is literally the source being you are, literally flowing forth the living waters. As Jesus said, I am the living waters. All that God is, I am. Is simply the river of life flows. And so this is what we do when we open the star tetrahedron. So in opening the star tetrahedron, one of the things that assists us quite beautifully is our breath work. And the reason that the breath work assists so well is that when we're breathing in, yes, we're breathing in oxygen, but we're giving ourselves the feeling that there's something moving from the open doorway within the heart. We begin to imagine. Imagination is the key to enlightenment. Imagination is the key to creation. The whole universe is no more than the imagination of divine source, simply imagining the unlimited possibilities of possibilities. And so this is what we are doing. We are imagining the star tetrahedron. We're imagining the breath of this living waters. We're now beginning to imagine and feel it flowing from us. And over time, we'll begin to experience this movement, this divine movement of this living water from our heart. So the breath work is really about, again, deep belly breathing, because when we're breathing with the diaphragm, we're then creating this deep movement of source energy from out of the heart. We hold for a couple of counts. As we exhale, imagining sparkling, effervescent golden light flowing through every cell and tissue of the body. And literally, it is this frequency of love that is now moving out into the world. I am the light. And then once again, back to deep in breath. Feeling from inside out of the heart, there is this movement of these living waters. The living waters that then, with exhale, become sparkling, effervescent golden light. So let's do about 5 minutes of deep breathing. With the breath work, we like to have the spine nice and straight. You can imagine there is a string at the top of the head, gently pulling you up, expanding, opening the aura. And the in-breath is summoning source from out of the heart. And gentle exhale, living, sparkling, effervescent light through every cell and tissue of the body. I am imagining it. I am feeling it. And it flows out into the world. I am the light. So let's sit quietly together and do our deep, focused breathing. This is the frequency of divine love flowing from source, more than personal love. The great creator being, God I am, flowing as living water from the heart. And another deep breath. Calling of Source from the open doorway within the heart. The jewel in the lotus. As we practice the breath work, of course, we can do it throughout the day. I do it driving, I do it gardening, I do it frequently. If there's something, in fact, that comes up that is a little bit emotional or has got us off key, to sit quietly for 5 minutes and do the breath work, it simply releases it, resets the mind and the heart, and we let it go. But as we continue to do the breath work, we find that the breath deepens profoundly, that we learn how to really expand the rib cage, the diaphragm, and really take in some really deep breathing, which is, of course, wonderful oxygen for the body. But at the same time, we then get an even more profound feeling of this living water that's just exuding out all around. So we're going to do the meditation now, and I'm going to take you through, of course, the sequencing of it. And then we will gather together in the living light. So let's go ahead and close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. And let's bring our attention between the eyebrows. Imagining we could draw a line straight back. And within the approximate center point of the head, we ignite the light. Imagination. I imagine the living light, the light of the soul filling the head, brilliant with focus and light. I allow the light to move to the heart chakra at the sternum, where I imagine the star tetrahedron, upper triangulation of divine masculine power, interfaced in the mystical marriage with the divine feminine of sacred love from beneath. And as the star tetrahedron turns, it opens the sacred doorway within the heart. An opening into the void where spirit now arises forth as a living water. Just as the sun shines, the living light flows from the heart, healing and renewing every cell in the body, and flowing as sacred light out into the world. I will gather with you, and together we will create light activation. And very easily, slowly coming back into the now. So once again, imagination is really the key to this particular process. We imagine the light in the head, and if we focus enough on it, it becomes real. We then bring the light and we imagine it at the heart chakra, illuminating the star tetrahedron. And as we then imagine it turning over time, it actually then creates it to be that movement of light and energy around, within, and through. And then we imagine from the open doorway that there is the living spring of creation arising forth. And we imagine it's moving through every cell and tissue of our body, bring us into light activation. And then it's the frequency that goes out and acknowledges source oneness within all of life. And so it's then the healing of all creation, because it is the vibration of source in what we call 0 point. 0 point is everything is in harmony. It has the unique expression on the surface of that which it's playing. It's kind of like when you go to the movie and the movie screen, the blank screen, it's always there. It's always at 0 point. Playing upon it is light and shadow, dancing and color. And there is sometimes comedy, and sometimes there's science fiction, and sometimes there's drama, and sometimes there's violence. But the blank screen never changes. It always rests at 0 points and simply enjoys the dance of light and shadow upon the unity of that which it is. And so when we achieve, you see, that place, that's the most profound place of love. We then are source, but at the same time, we're simply enjoying the dance of light, honoring it, loving it, knowing that in its own perfection, it is coming into the place of its own light activation. And as we're emanating the light from us, it's then seeding it with that vibration to quicken its possibility. So wonderful to be with you tonight, my friends. We'll see you again in 2 weeks in August. So thank you very much. Blessings.